I guess there's a global shift, a seismic shift in political dispensation. The greater the degree of corruption, the lesser the degree of trust. The media has a very important role to play in shaping narratives. Mainstream media also serves, I guess, the interest of whoever pays them. The truth is very expensive to come by. I would say the right direction would be where people, ordinary people, can afford their lifestyles. If basic needs are accessible to the basic person and they don't have to find themselves rolling in debt and in order to just survive, you know. So right now it's not heading to that direction from what we see.
Have you ever thought about a trustless system like Bitcoin?
Wow.
Can I ask you something for a YouTube channel?
YouTube channel?
Yeah? Just basic questions. Yeah?
Sure.
I would just wonder if you think politicians in general are trustworthy.
I think that depends on how we define trust.
How would you define trust?
I mean, you know, I'd say trust is having the full confidence and assurance that they will implement or carry out the mandate that, you know, is in the best interest of the people that they serve, without having to question it or second guess it, because, you know, there's that level of assurity. So we would have to see, you know, what the extent to which they have been implementing those mandates and how they have been actually in the interest of the people. I mean, right now with the, I guess there's a global shift, a seismic shift in political dispensation, and the movements, you know, whether leftist or rightist movements, you know, we've been seeing some really, really big shifts. So, yeah, it would really depend on, you know, what the people themselves, you know, in the direction in which they also see their countries going. That would determine whether or not they trust, you know, their government and their leadership. Right now, I'd say the consensus is no, because it's...
You would say no?
I would say no.
And you're basing that on which politics? Where are you from, if I'm asked?
I'm from Namibia.
Okay.
Yeah, Southern Africa. So I would say no, particularly because there's been lots of, how can I say, compromises in the systems, compromises in
corruption, maybe?
Yes. So, you know, the greater the degree of corruption, the lesser the degree of trust. So you can only see, you know, whether where we lie on that. So, I mean, for a country like mine, where there's, you know, very heavy on corruption, so you can tell that, you know, people don't really trust whether or not the government really has their best interest at heart. But that doesn't also mean that people are not trying and the government isn't trying. You know, there are a good pocket of people who are trying to do their best, but yeah.
You think so? Yeah, I think here we are starting to realize that there's also a lot of corruption here. Well, some people realize, some maybe don't, but do you think the media plays a role in this, or would you trust the mainstream media?
Absolutely. The media has a very important role to play in shaping narratives. It is such a powerful tool, and I think the media knows the influence that they have over shifting or informing the perspectives that people actually, you know, end up informing. So the media has a big role to play in that. Mainstream media also serves, I guess, the interest of whoever pays them, you know. So we also are witnessing the over-corporatization or capitalization of the media. That isn't necessarily a good thing, because then it kind of shifts the power away from the people into those of a very few who want to control the narrative. So, yeah, I do believe in independent journalism. It is less controlled and less commercialized, and often...
so you mean like people having their YouTube channel, or?
Yeah, that too. I mean... the truth is very expensive to come by, right? So the level, if that is your basis, you know, YouTube channels also have a really big role to play. There are some that are quite good in terms of integrity and the way they just conduct their research. So it's quite trustworthy and one can rely on that information. But then obviously there's several others that are also just, feeding a certain narrative. So it's very fragmented. We live in a very fragmented world right now. So it's hard to tell which is which.
Absolutely. Are we heading into the right direction in general? What do you think? Do you trust the future?
Again, that will depend on what we define that to be, what the right direction is. I would say the right direction would be where ordinary people can afford their lifestyles, where ordinary people don't have to worry about, the means and how they're going to afford this and that. I think that is a good indicator of whether we're going in the right direction or not. If basic needs are accessible to the basic person and they don't have to find themselves rolling in debt and in order to just survive, So right now it's not heading to that direction from what we see. There's lots sort of more exaggerated debt levels than ever before. So that only means that, again, a select few are benefiting from that. So, and yes, sorry.
Do we maybe have a problem with our monetary system?
Do we have a problem with our monetary system? I think... Okay, I'll have to think what that actually means.
Well, yeah, that's a very open, general question. Yeah, I mean, we have a fiat system, which basically means all around the world that central banks can just print money out of nothing. Exactly. And we have that in Germany too, where actually the CDU won the election and they won it also with a promise that they won't go into further debt. And now after the election, they actually changed their mind right away. Yeah. And it's a privilege that they have, but we pay with inflation. And you were talking about debt and paying bills. Normal people struggle more and more. Have you ever thought about a trustless system like Bitcoin?
Wow, I don't know much about Bitcoin to be able to have like a proper informed opinion. I do know that it's not currency backed, so it's kind of like it's the opposite of fiat currency, my opinion. So ideally that would be a great thing, where the currency production is not dependent on the feelings of a select few, because again it's kind of they put the value on the money depending on, I guess, the weather. So so something like, I guess, Bitcoin that is not currency backed could be something that is more robust. But again, I do not know much about it to be able to even have an opinion.
You're pointing exactly at the right direction. It has a hard limit and it cannot be inflated at will. And it can change a lot of things for the better, probably.
It can. I think the problem again here is information, the information around the Bitcoin industry or anything that is opposite to the conventional fiat currency that we know is not democratized. So our society is very, our society, I'm saying just general people in general, they're inclined to do what they know, as long as it's familiar and as long as there's a history of, we've been doing this for a long time, it's unfamiliar, it's safe, they're less inclined to shift to something else. So I guess the government or whoever runs things has a vested interest in trying to, I guess, break down or trying to make Bitcoin look bad because, who wants to move away from something that will now sort of, empower, people, So I think information and also the media has a big role to play in that if it is indeed something that is credible.
Well, absolutely. It's also a lot based on trust and habits but I think the trust is gradually falling apart. And the next step would be CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, which is a form of another form of money which has a lot of negative sides also. But thank you so much for your input. It was very sophisticated, I have to say.
Thank you.
I don't want to steal much more of your time, but thank you so much.
Most welcome. Thank you. Hope this goes well. All right.
Take care. Bye-bye. One last thing before we wrap up. True freedom isn't just about what you can say, it's also about what you can do. When governments control your money, they also control your choices. They print endlessly, inflate away your savings, and decide who gets access to the system and who doesn't. Bitcoin changes that. It's apolitical, censorship resistant, and untouchable by any government. Your wealth, your rules. If you want to meet people who actually get this, independent thinkers, motivated, mainstream critical, and from all political backgrounds, BTC Prague is the place to be. It's the biggest Bitcoin event in Europe where ideas meet action. Get your ticket now, use my promo code for 10% off and support my channel. If you value my work, consider donating. Every contribution helps me keep going. Thank you.